Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad to hear this morning, a Thursday morning, a day after Valentine's Day. Hope everybody's having a great time and getting ready for the weekend. Well, it looks pretty good right now. Our weather brought to us by Haney Technical School at the corner of Baldwin Highway 77. High today, 72, low 62. That's two good even numbers right there. But check this out. Water temperature, I had to double check it, 64.9. It has really shot up the last week, 64.9. So we're going to round that off to 65 degrees. So it's going to be interesting now to see if it stays there for a couple of days, because they got a peer report coming up in a few minutes, and I'll tell you what's going on out there. All right, let's look at the river readings brought to us by Sandhill Seafood up there on Highway 77, just north of Bozeman School. Really good fresh seafood. It's as simple as that. The Apalachicola at Bluntstown, 17.3. It's staying high right now. It's just staying around 18 foot, and it's high. And then the Choctaw Caryville is at a 14.4, and the Choctaw Caryville is about to get ready to start dropping, but both rivers are high today. And the weekend they're going to be really, really high. So be careful if you're fishing or hunting in the river system. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. We're looking at 6:33 this morning as a low tide, and a high tide at 9:03 tonight. Marine forecast back to normal now, coming out of the south at about 5 to 10. Pretty even right there. But the big news on the weather scene again is our water temperature getting up to 65 degrees. That's pretty strong right there. This early in February. Okay, let's take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Now, I mentioned the other day I hadn't heard a lot from my snowbirds. I always hear a lot for each year, but we do have this picture here. I know a lot of y'all are getting a chance to enjoy the outdoors down here where it's cold to us. Y'all are just loving it. And check out this picture here. Let's see, right? Okay, a nice redfish caught by Colleen Pernelli and released a 31-inch caught while fishing with Captain Dan Van Treese of Perfect Cast Charters. And this was a couple days ago. Actually, it was Tuesday. Thanks, Winston. We're snowbirds from Pennsylvania and really enjoy your show. And isn't that a great picture? I know you had a good time, and you get back at home and show that picture. They're all going to be jealous, and they'll be coming down here next winter. And another picture. This is good now. Spring is coming encountered from Tom Steele. This was one day last week. Even the turkeys are ready for spring. I had numerous pictures of these two gobblers. The time and date are wrong on the camera, but this was last week and encountered. So he sent this down to us to let us know that turkey season is right around the corner. And those game cameras are something else and capturing all kind of thing. Now I told you I'd had a peer report for you. I sort of got tickled. I called. If you've been watching the show for years, you know when I get a peer report, I always call Carrie at the pier. Carrie's been there a very long time, and he knows the pier. He knows it well. He knows the fishermen, and he knows what's going on, and what weather, how it affects it, and all. So I always enjoy getting a report from Carrie. Sometimes I call and do it live here, but I just talked to him last night. And here's his report. I sort of got tickled, like I said. I said, Carrie, how's it going out there? Nothing. I said, well, I'm going to break it down. Okay, how many fish were caught today? 0. Yesterday, they caught 0. No fish yesterday. I said, well, okay, what about the bait fish? 0. No bait fish out there. Okay. I said, what about the sheephead? He said, in his last couple of weeks, he said, we have caught 0 sheephead. He said, we caught 3 right before that. Flounder, very few flounder, but they have caught some flounder. So that's not a very good peer report. That's why I didn't mean to laugh. He laughed with me because he said, you know, we've got some good fishermen out here. He said, it's just conditions just not right. But we both know, and we were talking about it, we're right on the verge of it taking off. And, you know, when I just said a water temperature like that, and I said, what do you think about, he said, it could be a few days, it could be a week or two. But you know as well as I do, it's going to take off. And the water temperature out there at his place was 62, and that was yesterday, so it came in, it warmed up last night. So it's going to be just a matter of time before they bust off the pier, but it has not happened yet. So if I were you, I will not rush out there to go pier fishing. I'd wait another week or two, and as soon as they start hitting, we'll get a report for you. As speaking of reports now, I am getting reports that the squid have moved into the marinas, the St. Andrew Marina and the downtown marina, and there are folks out there catching squid. You can catch those at night, and if you just want to go observe it, it's fascinating to watch them pull them in because they're something else. But a lot of people eat them, and but what I like them, they're excellent bait. They're the #1 bait. If you go offshore fishing, they're the #1 bait. If you're not using live bait, the squid year in and year out is going to be the go-to bait. So a lot of folks catch them and put them in the freezer and eat one and then catch fish with one. But anyway, that's the report from the pier. And like I say, I got tickled about talking to Kerry because why I got tickled because usually he said, "Hey, we caught this and caught that." He said 0. Okay, now another thing too, the fresh water. I wrote this down last night. Is the fishing report on fresh water. I always get a spring sign, but when the red horse suckers are moving up into the creeks for the spawning, and it's usually late February, but I haven't heard from anyone yet. So y'all let me know. Some of y'all go red horse sucker fishing and gigging, starting about now at nighttime and all. So let me know if y'all start getting some red horse suckers through the tributaries and feeder systems. Okay, I was talking to Bob Bigger. We emailed back and forth. And he was talking about, he ran into Mark Coward, and Mark told him about these dimple spoons. And y'all know how I feel about spoons. And I said, yeah. I said, I've always loved those dimple. That means the little marks on them, you know, little, like they've been, what dimples? You know what those are? Instead of smooth spoon, they're just dimple. Well, I said, I've always fished one. So I went back. I just got curious and all because I was thinking, and when's the last time I fished with a dimple spoon? And I went back to my tackle bench out in the garage. And I couldn't find any, and I was frustrated because I've always had, you know, I've had a great selection of spoons. This is just part of them. I never go fishing like I've told you before without spoons. Well, I could not find any dimple spoons. I started thinking, all the ones I had in a tray like this, I had about half my tray was dimple. Well, they were in the tackle box that was stolen when my rod was stolen, and that's why I didn't have any because so I got to go get some dimple spoons. I'll show you when I get some. I also like the bronze color spoon that's dimple. And the reason they're so good because when the sunlight hits it, it reflects at different angles. So they're more, as it wobbles in here, it's smooth now. So I catch a lot on smooth, but I like to change up with a dimple spoon, okay? So be aware of that. And I thought I had some, and you just never know. That's why you always got to check your tackle and everything. Okay, let's see. Let's go and take a break, and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to do this segment right here on history. I love doing history. Most of y'all know I'm a history buff, in particular local history, and that's how we ended up doing the book. And every now and then I love to do it. I haven't done it in a while. I planned originally when I did the show I was going to do a little history section once a month, and I don't get around to it as often as I want to. So we're going to do this little 5-minute segment on our local history. But what got me thinking about it, coming to our historical society right here, March the 1st. This is Patrick Smith's. The book is A Land Remembered. It's a book signing on March 1st. It's going to be down at Forest Park United Methodist Church on West 23rd Street, and it goes on down and talks about his son. Now Patrick Smith is a son. His son is Rick. But Patrick has passed away. But I want to tell you, I've got the book right here. I want to show you this book. This book is right here, A Land Remembered. Is an awesome book. It's a historical fiction of early Florida, and I just fell in love with it years ago. It's just wonderful, wonderful book. He moved here from Mississippi in the early 60s. He got here in a time just so he could get out and get to know local history. Some of the old timers were passing on. He sort of did what I did. He would talk to some of the Seminole Indians and some of the old owners of the land that had the cattle and all. And what a wonderful book. And I would recommend this to you if you love anything kind of history. This is a great book to read. And so it's going to be here. And then he captured the essence of the cowboys, the Florida cowboys. Actually, if you know American history, the earliest cowboys were the Florida cowboys because they came down before the West was even out there, really. They were coming down into the land from Georgia and all. And the cattle was here from the Spanish, and they were capturing the cattle and everything, and lassoing them and, you know, cracking the whips and all that. That's where the word cracker came from. They could hear the cracks coming out what was throughout, you know, throughout Central Florida. So really good, neat history right there. So I highly recommend this book to you. And then I wanted to go, but that's going to be March the 1st, and I've been to that presentation. It's very good. His son does an excellent job talking about his dad and how he wrote it and the different things he did. So I'd highly recommend that to you, okay? And then I went upstairs last night, and I started thinking about local history, and I've got a section on just some old local history books, and I want to just share them with you, tell you about them just one at a time. I'm not going into detail. This right here, this is a neat book. This is Descendants of Joseph Ware, and that's a Ware family that settled here in 1878. The early settlers there in St. Andrew, right there, Oaks by the Bay. But this goes on, and I was looking at it, I did not know this till last night. They only made 500 copies of it, and this is copy number 173. And we got this like at an old bookstore. We found it, and it's fascinating, but what a wonderful history, and it has stories in there. And they came here, folks, they came to America in 1675 and worked their way down here. And the greatest piece of information I got, they mentioned here, was 1882 diary written by Lambert Ware in St. Andrew. I've mentioned that several times on the show. And then this is original right here, and this is a reprint of Old St. Joe, written by George Mortimer West, who had that printing shop in St. Andrew, and just a good little history there. Around West Florida in 80 days, Braden Lee Ball, he was from Panama City and Pensacola. He really did a good job on capturing some of the early history. Some who passed this way, you can see the marks and all we had in Ira Hutchison, the judge Ira Hutchison. He's in my book. Most of these people are in my book. He was the one that has that shot that sandbar deer, the only deer picture I have in the book. But he wrote a fascinating book on, and you know, this is first-hand information of some really good stuff that happened in the Florida Panhandle. And remember that it was all Washington County at that time. And then moving up a little bit. This is not really old history, but this is written by local people. Kenneth Tucker, last roll call. Mr. Tucker just passed away. What a charming man. And a World War II hero, grew up there on the shores of East Point, Florida, and ended up being a tail gunner on a B-17. That's his life story about growing up here on Apalachicola Bay and then going to World War II. He just passed away. I talked to him. He went to church with us and all that. I just love Mr. Tucker. Good man there. And also, Florida Roots and Navy Wings. This was a fascinating book right here. And he's featured in my book. In fact, I want to show you a couple of pictures in my book. This is Sam Davis, okay? And this is part of the Davis family. This is page 77, 78 in the book. But when I got to interview him and talk to him at length many times. But this quote right here, this is he grew up in the 30s out here at Tyndall. Now before Tyndall was there. That's where he was. So. But we're talking, I want to say this, Crooked Island Sound, you have where you launch your boat, that's called Davis Beach. That's where his family's from, and it's named after his family. And they were on the bay side, because most of them settled on the bay side because of the hurricanes and all, but they went it wasn't that far to go over to the beach side. And they would go over there at times, and he talked about how important his family was, especially to his mom. His mom was just a wonderful mom and all. And here's what he told me one time. He said, "Mama said the happiest times of the long life were when the entire family, she and Daddy, my sister, 2 brothers, and me, went in the ox cart to the Gulf Beach, east of Farmdale, to the head of Crooked Island Sound." That's right there where the campsite is. "We camped on the beach overnight, sometimes spending 2 nights there. We caught mullet in the cast nets Daddy made and cooked the fish on iron skillets over a fire. We bedded down to the sounds of the Gulf of Mexico surf. We were all within Mama's reach under an open sky." And he still remembers that, and you can understand what a wonderful situation he had and all. But what I was going to show you, this is Sam with this big old 9-pound flounder, you call it right there. And then this goes on. what got me thinking about it, that's Sam there as a young boy, and then Sam there as an older man. Basically, this last page of the story, I'd encourage you to read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it's rather lengthy, but it was a special time in that he got to know me, knew I was writing a book and all, and he wanted to take us where he grew up. And it was so fascinating, and they'd had a family reunion, so it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We went over there, and it was right there at Farmdale, that's on Tyndall now, and it'd be east of the air base, about halfway down. And there's a road that goes back there to it, old Raffield Cemetery is back there and all. And he went right to the spot where the old house was. And we're walking around, and he said, golly, look over there. And what he saw were some daffodils that were blooming. It was springtime. He went over there and pulled them up. That's why that picture right there, okay? That's him pulling them up and looking at them. And I really wish I had time to read that, but he went on to talk about that his mama had planted those probably back, it had to have been in the 1930s. And he was so amazed to see them. And that day it was Gail and I, Sam Davis, his wife had passed away, but his daughter was there, and his son-in-law, and his older brother, and his sister, Eloise Kane, the 5 of them. And we were looking at it, and we were all in fascination. And he said, you know, my mom planted these, and it bloomed every year. They planted right in this part of the yard, and the house is right here. And just bringing that stuff out was just so exciting to us. And he handed them to his daughter, Lona, and she was going to take them back home to Tampa and plant them down there. And the sad thing about it, all 5 of those folks have now passed away. But that was a special moment in doing the book that he had no idea those daffodils would still be there year after year after year. So anyway, that's a lot of the history and all. But just to show you that I don't always read old history books, I just bought a book last weekend. Another thing I like about local history, how it ties in the outdoors, they lived off the land and off the water. Whatever they got as farmers or whatever they got as fishermen is how they actually lived. And it's proven over and over again by reading this stack of books how they had the substance of the land is what kept them going on. So, and every one of these folks I talked about had a very strong faith and had a very good strong family behind them. Everybody working and all. So that history is very important. But just to show you I don't read all history. Also, I bought a book last weekend. I was up there in Tennessee and I went to a bookstore, a local bookstore. And this is about the future. This is called A Place Called Heaven. So that's the future. And 10 surprising truths about your eternal home. I haven't read it yet. Hope to read it this weekend. And A Place Called Heaven. And you never know when we might head that way. So you need to check up on some of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So anyway, I just wanted to get off on books and history and spend a little bit of time. And I hope you enjoyed the little segment here. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's look at fish and game time for today. We're looking at them today. One time, they brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe, 11:53 to 1:53, smack dab in the middle of the day to get outdoors and find some success. Okay, sounds like a good day to do that. I do. One of my viewers talked about sent me an email how Deer Point Lake is now completely full from all that rain. We had the drawdown and they closed the gates off, so it's filled back up. It's amazing how one big heavy rain can just fill up everything from the mud puddles to small little ponds to the lake like that. So that's good news over there. I think it's going to be a good fresh start to the spring fishing at Deer Point Lake. And speaking of spring, Wednesday was such a pretty day outside, and it was. I went outside for a minute, for longer than a minute, but the first thing I heard was a doggone carpenter bee. Now, I know if you have any kind of boat shed or any kind of wood patio frame or anything like that, pergola, you're familiar with the carpenter bees, any kind of wood around the house. And I heard them yesterday, and we always have this ongoing battle during the spring and summer. And I was going to show you. This is one. This is some of y'all have some of these. This is a carpenter bee trap where you have the holes drilled in, and they'll go in here and then go down here. These are the ones I got. I don't know if you can see all the ones I got from just one area of my little shed that covers my kayak. That's all carpenter bees there. And so these things are very successful. I'm very pleased with it. And you can make them, but I bought that. You can buy them. Some of these hardware stores have them. I personally like to buy stuff like that from individuals. Every now and then you see somebody parked beside the road selling stuff, or the little arts and crafts shows. I like to buy them from the person that makes them, so it's a win-win situation. But anyway, the carpenter bees have started out. Another sign of spring right there. I was really surprised on the very first day after all that rain and cold weather. So also, I was on St. Joe Bay the other morning. Also, beautiful. After all that rain came. The next day we were on St. Joe Bay, and the water was still clear. I was thinking that shows that's such a really nice situation where you don't have all that washing, all the mud and all we talked about, all the river system going into that bay. St. Joe Bay was just clear as it could be. And I've got some video I'll come in next week. I was with the FWC marine biologists. Those ladies are really good, and we were taking some counts of this spat. That's a young, very, very young scallops, and it's fascinating what's going on with them. So we're going to share more of that. We had spent half a day out there and had a great time, and we'll come up with that a little bit later. But anyway, be aware of that. Also, it was mentioned to me that there might be, I need information on it from y'all. It's sort of like at the rumor stage right now. There might be a refueling barge permanently attached in the water around the St. Joe Bay area. And might be for the Coast Guard or some kind of function like that. I don't know any truth to that, but the sources I heard it from are pretty reliable sources, and you know how a lot of that stuff's hush, hush, hush until they get all the things lined up. Then, oh, this is going to be good for us. So if you know anything about that, let us know, because I personally can't see the advantage of doing something like that in such a pristine area, and I hope that's not true. And if it is true, we need to jump on that and nip it in the bud, especially you folks down in Gulf County, the city of Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach. We don't need a fueling barge out there in that area right there. I've run out of time. Enjoy the show today. Do something good for your fellow man. Have a great day. Enjoy the outdoors, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.